Hi everyone, welcome to our Expert Talks series. My name is Fernanda, and today we are shining a spotlight on a truly powerful capability within SAP IBP called Harmonized Planning Area. Today we will unpack what it is and why it matters. Joining me today in the studio, we have Maria, my colleague. Hi Maria, nice to have you here.
Hi, nice to be here.
And we have also Vivek, our expert from Product Success team. Welcome, Vivek.
Thank you, Fernanda. Good to be here.
Nice. Let's dive into the topic. So first, Vivek, we have heard a lot about harmonized planning area. What is it actually, if you can explain to our audience?
Sure. So when we talk about harmonized planning area, it's basically a combination of two different planning areas. See, what we have now is we have two planning areas, one doing the time series planning, the other one doing order-based plannings. So what happens is customers are not so happy with having two planning areas because they have to load the data two times. So as a first step, what we have done is we have kind of combined the planning areas, if you will, and that is called as harmonized planning area. So going from 2508 forwards, the customers who are using the harmonized planning area, as one example, won't have to load the master data two times. So that would be the power of using the harmonized planning area. So within the harmonized planning area, one can do the different supply chain processes like demand planning, supply planning, time series supply planning, inventory optimization, order-based planning. All of it can be done within one planning area. So that is what is called as harmonized planning area.
Okay, so I understand. So are you just combining the planning areas?
Well, see, our first goal was to bring what we have currently in the two planning areas, which are called as SAP IBP 1 and SAP 7, into one planning area. That was the main goal. And in addition to that, we have also introduced additional functionalities. For example, can start with integration, for example. So if you look at the integration, what we are saying with the integration is what customers are doing now is they're using RTI, real-time integration, for the integration of order series. And then on the other side, they're using, let's say, CI or CIDS for the time series integration, for the master data. So going forward, one benefit to the customer would be not using these two applications for master data. We just use RTI as an example, just to send in the master data, which can be used by both the time series as well as the order-based planning. So that's one benefit of using the harmonized planning area.
Great, Vivek. And what are the other benefits?
Okay, the second one that we have introduced is something called as one unit of measure conversion, right? So what I mean by that is what we used to have before is we used to have time series. In that world, we had a different kind of a unit of measure where we had to load the data using the conversion factors. We used to convert the data into the required unit of measure. And that applies to currency also, right? From, let's say, from Indian rupees to euros or euros to dollars. So that applies to both. So what we did was, as one enhancement, the other thing that used to happen was from order-based planning. It was a different way of loading the unit of measures completely. And then what used to happen is with this different unit of measures, the customers were not so happy having two different ways to do this unit of measure. So we harmonized that, and now the unit of measure, you will see that on the header level. And that unit of measure conversion is then taken by all the applications within IBP. So there is no need for additional helper key figures. There is no need for additional planning levels. All the conversion happens automatically. So that's one benefit. That's the second benefit of having this harmonized planning area.
Thank you for the breakdown, Vivek. This actually looks great already. Do you keep the applications separated or are they hard-coded as of now?
The applications were hard-coded, yes. So now we are going to separate the applications. So this will give a choice to the customer. So basically what used to happen was the customers had to decide whether they go with, let's say, for example, order-based planning or with time series planning. There used to be cases where some functionalities were good in time series, but the customer wanted to use some other functionalities which were there in order series. So then what we introduced something called as application mapping. Okay, so application mapping, what we have is we have got two things. One is application specific mapping. For example, we have got demand specific mapping, supply specific mapping, inventory specific mapping. So these are called as application specific mappings. And then on the bottom, we have a core, something called as a core. And this core is then taken by all the applications. So then the customers can choose, right? If they want to use, let's say, our time series supply planning, they can just focus on the application mapping of the time series. So it's not hard coded anymore. We have tried to take out as much hard coding as possible and kept it very friendly for our customers, user friendly.
Thanks for clarifying, Vivek. When we offer actually the quarterly updates to the SAP customers, I've heard that there are clashes sometimes between the customer naming and SAP naming, right? What can happen? Is there anything being done in that area?
Oh yeah, that's a very good question, Fernanda. What used to happen was, as an example, right? Let's take a look at an example, of a simple example called, let's say, product family. Okay, that's an attribute. Okay, and SAP provides that attribute, and then for some reason, customer also creates a similar name attribute. And when we introduce the new planning area, right, with the quarterly upgrade, what happens is the namespace clashes, right? Because the names are similar. What do we do then? So what we are doing with 2508 as a starting point, we're introducing something called as a namespace. Okay. So what will happen is SAP, when we provide the planning area, all the key figures, all the attributes, all the planning levels will have a I underscore. And that I underscore, whatever it is, planning level or a key figure or attribute, cannot be changed by the customer. Of course, they can change the key figures, but when we do the, let's say when we upgrade it, we'll be warned that yes, there is a change for this key figure. Only the key figure calculations can be changed. The attributes, planning levels cannot be changed. They'll be only can be changed by SAP. So that would avoid the clashing completely. So no more clashing.
Very good. That's very good. Yeah. Have you made any improvements in the time series planning?
In the time series planning, yes, I can talk to you about one big enhancement that was made in time series planning. What used to happen was, in time series planning, the algorithms used to take only stored key figures, meaning the key figures that were stored in the database. So what we have done with this release of 2508, we have introduced the functionality where the applications can now read the calculated key figures. And what this does, okay, you might think it's a small thing, but behind the scenes for the customers to create the stored key figures, they needed to use many helper key figures, many copy operators, and by the time they were ready, the planning situation was changed. Why? Because at that time we required the time series to be a stored key figure. So just with this functionality, where we are saying the calculated key figures can be read by the algorithms, that's a big change forward. It will be much easier for the customers to adopt our time series application. The other thing that we have introduced is the time series can also now read the order key figures, which was not possible before. So the key figures are called as OKF key figures, order key figures, and we have made certain changes to that behind the scenes technically, and they are far more superior in performance with regards to what we had before. And before you used to call them external key figures, now they are called as order key figures. So those are two major improvements that I can tell you that we have made in the time series world. So
really good, Vivek. And what have you heard about future improvements, if we can talk about it?
Yes. See, right now as a starting point, right, if you look, what we have is we have got two blocks there, right, within one planning area. Of course, those two blocks, time series and order base, they do talk to each other. But going forward, one of the main ideas that we want to see is how do we close this? We don't want to have two separate blocks, but we want to kind of bring them together inside each other, right? So that they talk to each other. An example could be demand handover, right? So what's happening right now is when we do the forecasting in time series, it's at a different level altogether. It's at a customer grouping level. Whereas when we do the forecasting, let's say for example in order-based planning, it's at the level at customer ID level. So how do we kind of bring this together? and that's something called as a demand handover. So that would be one topic that we are significantly looking into, and hopefully in the very near future we should be able to solve it and bring it to our customers. That's one area. The other area we are looking into is, right now we can only send, for example, transport load requisitions to the transport load builder and get the loads out of it. Going forward, what we are thinking is not just sending the transportation load requisition key figures, but we can also send transportation load some other orders, right, or some other key figures, and mix and match. So you can send in the key figures, get the orders out, or send some orders out and bring some key figures out. So those are some of the things that we are looking at for the future. Time frame, of course, we cannot say that because we have got a lot of requirements on the roadmap, but that's just something that we are looking into.
Very good, Vivek. Thank you very much for sharing your insights. We reach out the end of this talk. It was for sure great to learn for me, for Maria, and I'm sure also for the audience about Harmonized Planning Area and how it can support the SAP customers. If you are curious about how this can take your business to the next level, we invite you to check out the links in the description below for more details.
And if you'd like to connect with our product experts, join the SAP community, or just drop us an email at insiders4@sap.com. We're here to help. Did you enjoy this session today? Let us know in the comments. Don't forget to like and share this video to keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Thank you.